Welcome to the Wolf Mother Podcast. My name is Dana Harkis. As always, we will begin by taking 3 deep breaths. So take a deep breath in through your nose, softly out of the mouth. Deep breath in again through the nose, softly out of the mouth. Last time, deep breath in through the nose. Hold it for a moment, soften your shoulders, soften your jaw, soften the space in between your eyebrows, and let it go. Today's topic is, what if no one shows up to my offerings? So this topic was brought up by a one-to-one client that I am currently working with, and they posed the question to me, I have these ideas and I want to do these things, but what if no one shows up to my offerings? And so the beginning of this, I'm going to give you some background on me and my experiences, and then I'll kind of move into what I think like my advice is in this, to this question. I started teaching yoga about 6 years ago. Yeah, 6 years ago. And then like officially as a business, 5 years ago. And when I started teaching, I sometimes worked at gyms. It was very, very rare that I taught yoga asana at a gym. So I mainly did all of my classes in my mother's yard at a public like park or place. And then also I did have my own studio, which was super exciting. It was actually a therapist's office that the therapists on the weekend, I was allowed to rent their space, and I was allowed to turn it into a yoga studio for the weekend. So I hosted a lot of my own yoga, meditation, and breathwork classes because I didn't choose to teach at a studio or a gym consistently. So I had to build up my clientele. I had to build up my following, which was very difficult because there were many a times where I would have, 6 people say that they're coming to class, and I would get the studio or the space that I was about to teach in prepared, ready. I didn't take payment up front. People would pay usually like when they either got there or after the class, and 15 minutes before the class, I would have all 6 people cancel on me. And there I would be with a space that is set up to teach for the next, hour and a half, and now I had no one coming. So what did I do? Then I would either, if I was like completely alone and there was no one else around, I would get down on the mat and I would do another practice for myself. I would practice whatever it is that I felt like I needed work on. So whether that was leading an asana class basically just for myself, doing my own private practice, pranayama, meditation. If there were people around that I could coerce into getting on the mat, meaning they were people that I lived with, or they were friends or family that I could say, hey, can you just get down on the mat so that I can still lead this class and practice teaching? Because basically now that's what it's about to be. They usually would, which was really sweet and really kind and wonderful. So that is what I would do back then. Now, fast forward, I have been in official business for 5 years. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary in December, which is very exciting. I'm very proud of myself, but I want to be fully transparent and open and honest. I made an Instagram post a while back. I don't know where it is or what it is, but basically I said in that post, if tomorrow no one showed up to any of my retreats, workshops, or events, I would still do all of the shit that I teach because it is a part of me. It is a part of my life. It is who I am. It's ingrained in my own practices. I don't just share these things because it's a quote unquote easy way to make money, which is like a whole different conversation because I don't believe that it's easy to make money by working for yourself. But I would still do all of this if no one showed up. And so after being in business for 5 years, there are still times where I have put out offerings like classes, and some people might have signed up and they might have paid through the website, so they're getting the recording, but there's no one on the Zoom screen. And I'm alone and I'm teaching the class because I know that there are going to be people later on that are going to do it, but there's no one there. There have been times where I've put out classes that I thought were going to be a really, and that's the thing. It's a very interesting space to be in, is feeling like, okay, this is what people are saying that they want, and then putting out the offering, and then no one signs up for it. Is it because it's the wrong time of day for people? Is it because they actually didn't want to sign up for it, but they just said in conversation that they would? So it's a very tricky thing, I feel sometimes. But there are still times where I put things out that I don't get the turnout that I thought I would. And now I'm recording this on March 13th, and tomorrow, March 14th at 7 p.m. EST, I'm doing a free wild dance class on Zoom, just an hour long. And basically the idea is I'm teaching a class inside of a membership for the spring equinox in Ostara. But I wanted to do something because so many people had reached out to me and were like, oh my God, what are you doing for the spring equinox? And I was like, okay, how about I just do this free class and see who the fuck even shows up, right? It's a free class. You're asking me what I'm doing, so I'll put this out and see what happens. But all that to say, if tomorrow I get on Zoom and there's no one there, I'm going to put the playlist that I put on, or that I've already made for the class, and I will dance for myself, and I will lead the class for myself because I know that there is healing and medicine to be found in it, even if no one shows up. So telling you all of that, going back to what my advice would be, if you asked me, what if no one shows up to my offering? Then you take the time to do the offering for yourself. You take the time to sit there and understand, what is this offering? Is it really so amazing? And you're questioning, wow, I can't believe people really didn't show up for this. Maybe you do the offering for yourself and maybe you're like, oh shit, actually this could have been way better. It's good that no one showed up. I needed the extra time and space to, kind of tweak it and make it a little bit better. But do it for you. And I mean, this doesn't really answer the question, but I feel like this is important to be said. If you are someone that is a space holder that leads certain things and teaches certain things, I highly recommend that you should be also taking your stuff. So before Zoom was really popular, I used to always record myself in voice memos when I would do my meditations in my classes, so that after my students left, I could do the meditation. So I could really see what did I like about it? What didn't I like about it? Where did I kind of fuck up? And the fuck up was just for me. It's my own critique, right? We're our own harshest critics. The sun is attacking me, wow. But I do think that is very important. So if you have an offering that you want to put out into the world and you have this nervousness that no one's going to show up, everything is happening for us and not to us, even though that can be really hard to come to terms with, especially when I was paying to have a studio and there were people telling me that they would be coming and then right before they wouldn't be coming. It was really hard to feel like, wow, this is happening for me and not to me. I was kind of like, what the fuck is this for? But it all did happen for me. I got to have hours of uninterrupted practice with myself to perfect, and not really perfect, right? Just work on my craft and work on my teaching styles. And what a blessing that was. Like I said, uninterrupted in the most zen spaces that I had created because I thought all these people were coming. I probably wouldn't have done all of that if those people weren't coming. I would have just laid the mat down and, did my own thing. So if we can just shift our perspective just a little bit and take it with a grain of salt. If no one shows up, it doesn't mean that your offering isn't worthy. It doesn't mean that you're not a good teacher, practitioner, facilitator, space holder. There's just something for you to learn. Or maybe the universe is working its beautiful magic for you to be able to enjoy your own teachings. So I know that there are other things where it's kind of like we're working on the back end, and we're putting out these things that take a long time to set up. And when I say the back end, I mean more like PowerPoints or creating a lot of content that requires us to be sitting at the computer. And I also recognize how aggravating that can be. So I also don't want to invalidate how you might be feeling if you're like, well, I've spent hours creating these PowerPoints or making these things and people still aren't picking them up. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? In the same way that if you were to teach like a live event class or workshop, that I would say take it, sit down with whatever the product is that you made and use it as if you were the client or the student and see what you like about it and see what you don't like about it. The worst that comes out of it is that you recognize that you could change it or you could scrap it and create something new. You are allowed to create new things all the time. And if this is really in response to that one-to-one client, because I know their specific scenario. But if you take the time to comment on this somewhere or reach out to me on some platform and tell me exactly what your specific scenario is, I can give you a more detailed response. But overarching, I want you to know that it is important to show up to the work that you expect others to show up to. And I'm going to leave it at that. Interpret that however you want. Thank you so much for listening on whatever platform you listen to it on. Please like, share, subscribe. It helps with our community. If you end up listening to this before March 14th at 7 p.m. EST, there is a free wild dance workshop on Zoom. And if no one shows up to it tomorrow, just know that where I am seated right now, I will be dancing by my bad self for about an hour, moving through my emotions, breathing, tapping into all the magic of somatics. So many blessings to you and to yours.